Hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about a little different topic, a little break from the previous ones. And I know you've probably not seen the previous ones, so forget I said that. I am changing the format of my YouTube channel eventually, not right now, but in the meantime I'm doing a little bit of chats, these kinds of things. Interviews with myself. I have put my microphone over here because I've been experimenting with this for the last hour. I can't seem to get good sound. It's too loud, scratchy, or echoey. Maybe that's not too close. And Rusty's over here watching because it's dinner time for him. Hi, I'm going to take a little break this afternoon and talk to you about the police in Mexico. Now, as this series of chats evolves, I'm going to move away from my past and the kinds of exciting things that I've done in my past and the risks that I've taken in moving through my life. Now that I'm this age, I think it's kind of remarkable, the things I've done and the adventures I've had, none of which would have happened if I hadn't been brave. But today, I thought I might just tell a couple of stories about police in Mexico. I've had a couple of things. I know a lot of people are afraid to drive in Mexico, afraid to travel in Mexico, and if they do, they go to Cancun, and that's nothing. You might as well just go to Disneyland because it's the same thing and it's all Americans and they speak English there. And so if you really want to see Mexico, you have to get in your car and you drive until you can't drive anymore, and then you've seen it. Well, I have respect for Mexican police in the same way I do for police here. They have police on the various levels, just like we do. They have city police, county police, state police, federal police, and then they have the Guardia Civil, which is more like our, what do we call it? The National Guard. And those are positioned around the various states in the same way we do ours, practically identical, except that the National Guard there, the Guardia Civil, has a presence. They don't just go and do drills and on weekends. It's actually kind of a job. It's a thing that they do all the time, not just weekends and all that. I don't know. I don't understand National Guard in the United States, obviously, but there they have a function, and I'll talk about that a little later. That's not the point today. Now, one of the things that comes to mind was when I was living on the coast in the little town in this part of Mexico. It's not a pueblo, it's not an aldea, it's called a rancho. A little town, little farm towns are called ranchos, and this little farm town happened to also be on the edge of a big freshwater lake. The water provided all kinds of really desirable fish, and we became involved. My Mexican family were involved in the fish business. And so we had a little cooperative where we would buy fish from the sale. We would buy fish from the local fishermen. We had, I think, 5. They would come to our house every afternoon, 4-ish, because the day was done for them. They went out early, usually. But whenever they thought their day was done, they'd come with their fresh fish. We'd weigh it and pay them accordingly. The different kinds of fish. There was pargo, robalo, constantino, another one. Sometimes they had shrimp, and sometimes they had jaiba, which is crab. And we bought all of those at a stated price, and then resold it the next day at the various customers we had, hotels, restaurants, and cafes. And sometimes we sold from the little town squares. We went out every morning and sold yesterday's old fish, or I should say the second day fish, to the housewives in the small towns, and that was a lot of fun. Well, that's a whole other story. This day, however, marked the end of the shrimp season. The shrimp season had just ended, and the shrimp has they put it's kind of like our deer season or that sort of thing, whereby the state game commission would determine when you could hunt deer or sell shrimp, that sort of thing, and it was because they didn't want to deplete the supplies. In a little lagoon-like thing off the side of the lake, kind of a bit of a drive for us, but maybe 15 minutes kind of on dirt country roads, we would get to a vivero. A vivero is like a nursery for shrimp. And it was kind of like they were encouraged to come there, but there were traps, and the local guys would sell either to us or to the local market. But we typically did not deal with shrimp. It wasn't one of our things. It was too messy. We just said no to that, to be honest. But on this day, we made this mistake. One of the fishermen or somebody came by and said, "Look, I've got all these shrimp left over. Tomorrow's the last day. The season expires. I can't sell it after that. Do you want it? Can you buy it from me?" He was kind of needy, and so we made a deal with him and bought it from him. And it wasn't much. It was maybe a bushel basket of shrimp, little shrimp. And so we put it in the pickup that next morning with us to take into town. We went over into Tuxpan because we had our biggest clients there. And then we were going to go off to another little village, Pozo de Ibarra, I think, out on the coast, where we were going to sell the second day fish on the town square. Well, anyway, we get to the bridge that crosses over the San Pedro River into Tuxpan, and lo and behold, there was a police stop. And not just an ordinary police stop where they check for guns and drugs and sniffer dogs and all that, which I rarely saw, but is not uncommon in Mexico because they have very strict rules about all those things. Seeds, plants, guns, drugs, liquor, don't do it. It's jail time. But in this case, we were up against the State Game Commission. I'll call them game wardens because I don't know what the word is in Spanish. So we were, and in line to be checked. And being a pickup with a topper on the back, it was sure that we were going to be checked. Of course, they found the shrimp. And I should point out, this was the following day after the expiration of shrimp season. So we were technically illegal. We were selling fish, obviously, because we had a whole big containers full of fish and ice, and here were these shrimp. We didn't even try to hide it. They were right there in the back. So we could have at least put it in the front, like 8 feet forward where they couldn't have seen it, but we didn't even do that. So, and I was driving, and so I had all the questions, and luckily Hector's dad was in the front with me, and he intervened and said, "Hey, we're fish people. We sell fish at the market, and we sell fish to our clients." And I just told him the truth. We had a guy come by and want to sell them, and we just didn't want it for the family. It was too much for us, and so he said we were going to try to bring it in. He admitted that, and so I don't know if I was a detriment to that situation or not. There were often times where I kept clear of things. I kept out of sight. Sorta. I mean, I didn't raise my voice unnecessarily because I could have been a target or I could have been other reason for suspicion. Well, so the guy, the officer said, go on about your business. I'm not going to keep you, but you can't sell the fish because it's against the rule, and it would be wrong of me to do the wrong. It would be wrong of me to say otherwise. So he said, "Promise me you'll go into the market here." Actually, we went to the market in San Vicente, which is this side of the bridge. But he said, "Just pull over here," because that was our county and Tuxpan was not. But he said, "Just pull over into the market and promise me that you'll give this to one of the old ladies that's selling." I'll let you do that. Tell her that you've got an okay from me to sell today. And so we broke it up between 2 or 3 market people and went on our way. So that was one experience. That was very nerve-wracking because I didn't want... Oh, I don't think they'd have put me in jail over some silly thing like that, but it would have been a fine of some kind, una multa. And we just, we brought home $1,000 a day some days, but it wasn't like we could afford, because we paid it out the next day. It was awful. It was terrible business. So anyway, okay, well, the next little experience that I had wasn't so simple.